and what does this mean to the country's economy, as well as the geopolitics, the hydropolitics in the Horn region? And what is Ethiopia's plan to use its water resources effectively in the future? And what is the current status of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam? This session of Addis Dialogue will cover these issues. And thank you for joining Addis Dialogue. And my guest today is Dr. Habtamu Tafa from Ethiopian Ministry of Water and Energy. Thank you, Dr. Habtamu, for joining ETV English.
Thank you also for inviting me.
So my first point would be regarding the reforms so far in the Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Energy, and for the current Water and Energy Minister. And what reforms have been here since the new Ethiopian government was formed?
Thank you so much. As of the new government establishment after election, there has been a way out to address the demand from our people, from our community in Ethiopia. So at the national level, we have 10 years plan, a strategic plan, what to reach by 2030, what every citizen should be having in terms of income, in terms of livelihood, and every aspect. That is to define the illustration of prosperity of our people. From the major sectors that need reform or to address the demand of the people is the Ministry of Water and Energy. That was used to be Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Energy. Earlier time it was so. Currently it's changed to the Ministry of Water and Energy. Just to give you a little bit highlight why irrigation is a standalone ministry. If we remember 2 years back and like that, our Prime Minister was telling Ethiopians to focus upon irrigation, to focus upon dry land development, where really we have ample land, ample water, but few settlement, few people, and also highly productive area. So to boost this demand, there was really a support from government side to institutionalize and to implement what was required. The last 1.5 years so, in regions we have good experience from irrigation point of view, where there has been really a good payback in Amara region, in Oromia region, in some part of southern region, and other parts as well. So it was must to have a separate institution that is leading such kind of activity. When the irrigation is established as a new ministry, our ministry is remained with water and energy, where it is going to focus only with two aspects. One is for the water supply and sanitation, the other one is for the energy development aspect. Whether it is for the water supply and whether it is for the energy, the water resource development is also very important. About the resource availability itself is mandatory, and in the reform, the ministry is focusing upon 3 major streams. One is the water supply and sanitation. The other one is the water resource potential itself, how to manage, how to handle that one. The third one is with the energy. So in this respect, there is a plan now. We will achieve more than what we had in the past time, because the focus is now only toward water supply, sanitation, and the energy. Earlier time it was more than that. So that is the purpose why reform was required.
We have just passed 3 months since this ministry has been just reformed. And has there been any challenges that you have seen due to the reform?
Actually, yeah, not so much. It is normal especially for the civil servant to question what's going on. What will be their fate? When we are talking of the reform, it's not rebranding or renaming. There are some activities, some restructuring that we have been doing the last 2 months and so. And that when we are trying to attempt or trying to establish a new ministry, earlier time some component of the organograms will no more exist here now. And the issue is to bring into one center, administer resource with the maximum output possible. So the finance, the procurement, the human resource, and so on will be administered by one executive, and the other one will remain. So in doing so, some of our public servants, staff were questioning what's going on and how things should be, and they had really in big dilemma. So we first conduct training to tell them what does reform means, why this reform is required, what will be the goal, at the end what will be the achievement as a nation, as a ministry, as well as an employee. So we could manage really, that is one issue. The other one is with some transaction on the finance, especially payment for the projects. When the project is, for example, the previous water commission, which is no more existing now, the account should be closed and a new account should be opened and then signatory should be assigned accordingly. This took somehow few weeks, where it created minor complaint from contractors and the consultants. Anyway, we are also handling such kind of issues. Else, we don't have so significant complaint.
You are just telling me that you can synergetically work with the other sectors as previous and at ease. Yeah. Well, good. So one of the issues and the responsibilities for this ministry is the provision of clean, potable water and also maintaining the hygiene of the people. So far Ethiopia is known for scarce and just severe water problem, potable water problem in the country, but we know that Ethiopia is of good water resource potential. So given this potential, what is your ministry's plan for the future to alleviate the clean water problems which contribute to the poor hygiene and disease factors in the country?
Yeah, it is a very good question. Actually, there are two parameters that need to be taken into consideration. One thing is who will implement. That is, we are dealing with the organizational aspect for that, for the organogram. For example, in our ministry, we have one stream that is led by Data Minister, Minister Data for Water Supply and Sanitation. Under that, we have two executives directors who are leading water supply separately, sanitation separately. So our main focus is to establish policy, guideline, standards. So this will help to strengthen the capacity to do what. The other one is in terms of finance. Earlier time, we are attaining some support from donors, from partners, which still we are getting them, which is somehow really very good. But in the future, the demand is more. The demand from our people at the community level is much higher than what we have at hand. So we need to establish some way of revolving fund, either from local mobilization or by initial capacity or at community level. That is what we are working upon that. Beyond that, we have one technology institute that is under our ministry. We call it Ethiopian Water Technology Institute. We are establishing a small household level water supply systems, household sanitation system, how really people can harvest rainwater during the rainy period and then keep it for some time, then utilize from the borehole or from the well, where they store that water, using simple mechanical approach. And even that stored water needs to be treated accordingly. So that is what we are really putting maximum effort, as it requires less cost, it requires less currency from abroad. It's only demanding labor cost for people to think about it and have storage area and then establish a mechanism of water lifting devices and store in certain place so that it will not get polluted and the people can utilize. So these are the three aspects we are working upon that.
Well, that's good. And now let's move on to the next point, which is just country's water resources. What plans do you have as you take the new office for effectively utilize the country's water resources and also conserve? We can just raise issues like basin development and the challenges for the country's water resources, particularly the water hyacinth and so on. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is also a critical issue. Only not in Ethiopia, but globally, people are always trying to say clean and safe water. To talk about clean and safe water, first we have to be sure that there should be a water itself. So, of course, it itself has a life. As giving life for us, water has life. When we are talking water is having life, we need to understand the hydrology behind how we get water. How we can get rivers, for example, rivers. The source of the river, what we are having today in different parts of our country and globally, is from the spring or from the rainfall or from the groundwater. For that, the watershed management, the basin management, the basin development is a crucial one. That is one of the critical activity. So in our ministry, we have a focus and we have structural support again for dealing with basin, for the Ethiopian river basins, where we have 12 of them, but 9 of them are active in water. So we have a strategic approach of developing our basin, our river basin, besides the initiative that was launched by our Prime Minister 2 years back about the Green Initiative, where about 15 billion of seedling have been planted, and that is contributing to the basin development. So the first step what we have to know is knowing itself how much amount of water do we have. River water, what's the volume? The groundwater, the volume itself, and even the lakes and ponds and so on, what we have, they are now under big challenge. For example, if we see the groundwater in Ethiopia, especially in the Rift Valley system, is with high fluoride concentration, where we have a problem entirely, if you see from Addis to Awasa to Blat and so on. This corridor is not suitable for drinking and challenging, so we have ample amount of water. So availability, quantity, and quality matters. That's one issue. For the fluoride, it's a little bit costly how to provide for people, but we are trying some standard how to deal with that one. The other aspect with water potential is surface water, the rivers and the lakes. The river part is what people are really using for irrigation, for water supply. From the environmental aspect, the upstream users sometimes polluting our rivers, and that is not suitable for drinking and for agriculture as well. So we are need to work in coordination with other ministries. For example, with environment as regional level, environmental authority, and even Ministry of Agriculture, municipalities, and so on are where we are working upon that to preserve our water potential. The other very important one is the surface water is lakes. Just a few years back, we remember what happened to Tana, where water hygiene was a big challenge. And thanks to Ethiopians, from every corner, everyone was moving to that area and try to clear out. Not 100%, but much minimized than it is invasion. Currently, we are facing big challenge on Koka Dam and Batu or Zwai Lake, and also in Abaya in Rift Valley near Wolaita and Harbabing. So we have strategic approach again for that to mobilize the local community and the nearby structures, administration from Warada, zone, and the regional water bureaus to remove such kind of invasion that is happening to our water source. So 3 or 2 critical issues we can talk here. One thing, we need to know the amount, the availability on surface and the subsurface, surface water and the groundwater. From the available water amount, the quantity that can be potable, that can be utilized with a minimum investment. That is already what we are now undergoing, some studies and analysis. With regard to surface water, clearly we can deal with some regulations to minimize the quality, but the quantity is already clearly available, but we need to map them.
Regarding the initial power generation with the 2 units which are just expected to happen soon, and what does it mean if it happens successfully? What does that mean to the country's power grid and the country's politics, as well as the hydropolitics in the Horn of African region?
Yeah, one thing it means for us, harvesting the fruits of our effort that we have been putting there for the past 10 and so on years. Once we start to harvest the fruit and enjoy that, I would better to say historical enemies who want us not to utilize our water will get a paradigm shift. For sure, they will get surprised how could this happen, because they try as much as possible to hinder this country not to utilize the water. Anyway, we try to pass all the actions they try to put upon us then implement GERD to the level required. Then after starting GERD itself, filling itself was a big challenge. Then that was successfully done. Once the filling for second round is completed and the power generation is implemented and Ethiopians start to enjoy the fruit, then they will clearly need to think twice before going for another move, because Ethiopians start to enjoy the fruit of their effort they have been putting there, and that will make us more courageous and more stronger for next actions.
In economic terms, what does that mean, for example, in stopping power outages in the country, and also augmenting the capacity of Ethiopia in bringing foreign direct investment due to increased power supply and so on? And also, what does it mean for Africanness, by the way? Because here we are just experiencing a new spirit of Pan-Africanism and trying to avoid from dependency on foreign aid and so on. So what does this signify or symbolize for this Pan-African spirit?
Yeah, it's a very critical question, a very good one as well. Besides the enjoyment of the fruits of the effort that we have been putting, number one, economically, really, it will have a significant impact on the livelihood of our people. For example, by the time we get 700 megawatt of power into the system, we can imagine what we will have in every city in a small town, where our youth, the small and micro enterprise, couldn't have their workshop activated because of lack of power. In terms of our sector itself, people are suffering due to lack of water, where they couldn't provide diesel for the generators. Now, when we are having such kind of power, there will be continuity of supplying water, and every system of anyway economic system will be active. That will change the livelihood of our people. That is very important one. By the way, in every nation, including US, China, and the more developed countries, Germany and Europeans, including even Egyptians, the source of their wealth, well-being or prosperity is utilization of water source, especially for energy and irrigation. So automatically, for sure, Ethiopia will have significant change with that aspect. With Pan-Africanism, I think this will be one of the key point where our African brothers will learn from Ethiopia. They will get a lesson that they may follow the root path that we are using by saying, let me use my water source. Because there has been big challenge for Ethiopia to come to this achievement, to come to GERD this day. It was not so simple. So they can learn a good lesson, how they can start, how they can utilize, especially the Nile Basin, the White Nile, or actually the White Nile ones are the one we can say they can learn more from Ethiopia by avoiding all external forces, external pressures that they try to attempt directly or indirectly. Ethiopia not to construct the dam or not to utilize from what has been done. So in terms of the economy, it will really have a significant change on the livelihood of our people, whether it is in urban or rural. In terms of Pan-Africanism, we are the one to be the initiator of such kind of ideology.
Well, that's good. And coming to the negotiation over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the issue reached at the Security Council, the United Nations Security Council, and the United Nations Security Council referred it back to the African Union, where the African Union, through South Africa's president, Cyril Ramaphosa, I mean, started the negotiation but failed. Egyptian and Sudanese negotiators did not accept. And now, what is the status of that negotiation? And what would be the possibility in the future? We know that the Egyptian and Sudanese actors were trying to dismantle Ethiopia regarding the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and trying to prevent its success. And recently, since the issue is returned back to the African Union, and they have been just working with the TPLF and the armed forces in the Benishangul Gumuz state, and also just in some parts of the Oromia state like OLF and so on. And the officials have been just saying this obviously, and with the state-affiliated medias. So now Ethiopia is already just trying to do successfully its assignments, particularly the conflict in north part of Ethiopia. So given these conditions, what would be the possibility of this negotiation?
Yeah, actually, when they took the issue of GERD to Security Council, really they have no logical background, because Ethiopia is a sovereign country. When we talk about a country, country is nothing that we think as imaginary. It's all about the land, and it's all about the people. So on the land, we have water. We have sole right to use our water source as we are using our land in Ethiopia. That is what they missed at the beginning. The second one, they try to defame the country in such a way that Ethiopia is going to hurt the downstream parent country. The fact is not that way. Honestly speaking, GERD is for hydropower, and more they even get advantage out of that. They know this one very well, but try to misinform international community so that people can get biased. And anyway, the issue was taken to Security Council, but thanks to majority of our international partners who have been supporting the reality on ground, and the issue came back to Africa.
Doctor, a very big opportunity for Ethiopia. Yeah. Perhaps for the first time that Ethiopia just tried to show the world that it is building a dam on its own water resources, even without harming the others, and it is just calling for shared or mutual benefits from Ethiopian dam. And that was the very day, I guess, the world understood or just took the whole picture of the Ethiopian project.
Yeah. That was really an opportunity. They try to defame and hurt Ethiopia, but we win another way. People try to understand, wow, what was that? Because when they think the development of the water, they were spreading misinformation saying Ethiopia is going to abstract from Blue Nile. That is not the fact. Technically in hydropower, you don't do that. We store the water, we utilize for power generation, then they will get even more water technically, by the way. Honestly speaking, on downstream, during the dry period, they will get more water than they used to be earlier. And the sediment and a lot of issues that they have been suffering for their dams will get retained here. So the international community has already clearly understand that, and the issue came back to Africa Union. When it came to Africa Union, on some of the issues, they boycott. They didn't want to participate on the discussion because the main purpose was not to discuss about it, but to defame Ethiopia, whenever the case. So currently, from Ethiopia side, anytime we are open to discuss, to talk all about. By the way, as a start of the dam, Ethiopia was the one who was taking initiative to mobilize professionals from international level to prove that the dam is safe, environmentally, technically, and every aspect. And also the Egyptian brothers, they know this very well because they have a lot of research institutes that know all about water resource. So now it is not a filling time. From the trend we can see in the past 3 or 4 years, the issue is getting high during the rainy period, saying that, oh, Ethiopia is going to feel GERD. Ethiopia is going to abstract water from us and so on. So that's already successfully done. Now, somehow things are calm now. I think what they preferred is to destabilize the country rather than coming around the table. They have clearly seen that international community rejected what they proposed. So they were supporting rebel groups, including TPLF and Benishangul and some part of Oromia, so that the government will get busy with such kind of issue, with less focus on GERD, and even try to confuse Ethiopians by delaying the construction of the dam and more than such kind of issue. On that one also, they are almost failing now, as we can see. And the north part, successful achievement has been achieved since our Prime Minister is at war front, and now they try to have another media outlets, this week especially, where they try to defame again Ethiopia once again. So the issue is just a kind of on and off, depending upon situation, that way that our attention will get diverted from GERD.
They can get back to the negotiation table.
I'm not sure about them, but I'm sure with regard to Ethiopians, we are always ready for any negotiation, for any discussion, for any dialogue related to GERD.
Dr. Abtamo here. The African Union banned Sudan from any sort of activity in the bloc. So, do you think this affects the negotiation?
Actually, this can have positive and negative effect as well. Yeah, for sure it will. It will that, because earlier time that was the African Union who was given a mandate to discuss this agenda. So if our Sudanese brothers are not willing to come here, so with whom are you going to talk? That's another issue. From our side, whether they are coming here or no, Ethiopians, we remain committed to whatever we have been saying. Recently, there has been a ministerial meeting in Juba where almost the Nile-based initiative countries, most of them have been participating physically, and a few of us were participating by online. So what we have seen is, from South Sudan, we have a good green light that we can work together, and from the upstream side, from the Egyptian side also, it looks positive that we can see from their delegates. The issue is when it's come to implementation. When it's coming to implementation, they try to put some kind of obstacles, some kind of precondition to proceed to the other one. Whatever the case, from our side, we are open, committed, and then keep up on the idea of let's discuss on good faith for common benefit, for common well-being, for prosperity. Especially when we are talking for really Ethiopian, it has a special meaning about GERD. That's why some of international community are getting confused. They didn't understand. GERD is the sole property of Ethiopians, all from every corner, whether poor or rich, whether educated or uneducated. They know the value. So they think as if we are getting some support from abroad and constructing the dam. Whatever the case, it's only the sole property from Ethiopians, and Ethiopians' money, Ethiopians' property in it, and it will get done. So we are open for the negotiation and having mutual benefit with downstream countries.
Okay. We expect good to happen regarding the negotiation and just to be concluded soon. Let me just remind you some issues regarding the power generation of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Some African countries have already shown interest in purchasing power generated from the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. What's the reaction on that, particularly in enabling the socio-economic and the political integration of this East African region?
Yeah, okay. By the way, by the time we complete GERD and the dam is functional to its full capacity, it's not only meant for Ethiopians. It's meant for Sudanese, it's meant even for Egyptians and our own neighboring, where we can export this power. Rather than investing more money on another project, it would be advisable technically, again, to utilize the power that we are generating. So for Ethiopia, for sure, it will increase on the income, that's no doubt. But for us, we are not thinking only for Ethiopia, for the entire region of East Africa. If we have some product, let them enjoy. Let them be part of that. Let them be part of the water source we have here. Let our neighbors be part of the product of we are working upon to develop this water, by the way. When we are talking of GERD, the GERD is a dam. But that GERD can be alive as far as we have water. To make that water alive, we are working on the upstream side. In Ethiopia, on the highlands, where we are planting vegetations, we are taking care of the watershed management, basin management, and in every aspect. So we are saying, let people from the neighboring, even beyond Ethiopia, will enjoy the fruit of our dam, that is the electricity. So for the regional integration, it will have impact, because our brothers from neighbors, they know what does it mean. For Ethiopians, for us, it will increase the income again from the dam.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abtamo Itafa, for joining ETV and just sharing your views on a lot of issues, including the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam the negotiations so far, and also the progress at the project side, and what does it mean when it starts first initial with its two turbines for Ethiopia's economy, power, politics, and the hydropolitics within the region, and also sharing for the current status of Ethiopia. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you also.
Dear Addis Dialogue viewers, thank you for joining Addis Dialogue. This has been the conversation with Dr. Habtamu Itafa, who is Ethiopian Minister for Water and Energy. Thank you so much.